This podcast represents the opinions of the hosts of the Laugh Cry Club and guests on the show. The content here should not be taken as medical advice and is for informational purposes only. And because each person is so unique, please consult your healthcare professional for any medical questions. While we make every effort to ensure that the information we share is accurate, we welcome any comments, suggestions, or correction of errors. Welcome back, everybody, to the Laugh Cry Club. I'm Joy.
I'm Rebecca.
I'm Chelsea, and if you're an imperfect human who laughs and cries, then this podcast is for you.
Hi. Hello, everybody.
Hey.
So happy
New Year.
that you're here. Happy New Year. We're excited to start a new year, feeling fresh, feeling ready, feeling motivated. I actually do feel it this year for some reason, and we can get into that as far as I feel the new year energy, and it's great. If you're new to the podcast, welcome. We are 3 licensed therapists. We have been doing this for almost a year and a half now. We like to start off every episode with a laugh and a cry and a topic of the week, but most importantly, we just want you to feel welcome here. We want you to feel like anything that you're feeling is normal and human, and hopefully you walk away listening to this podcast feeling less alone. We are here for you. Chelsea, beautiful Chelsea, who went to the dentist this morning with her
my teeth?
Yeah, did they tell you that your teeth are perfect? Are they like your teeth are perfect?
No, they said you do a very good job.
They give you an A+.
They gave me an A+, and then Tracy, the girl who I had this morning, the hygienist, she said, this was a great way for me to start my day, to have somebody who's already done did the work or kept their teeth, however she said it. And I was like, well, as a person who's not a dentist lover, this is great for me too.
Yeah.
I just want to go in and I'm go in and out. I do brush too hard. That's my biggest problem.
Yeah.
Because I'm such a psycho mouth person.
Brush,
too. Floss, breath.
Oh, me too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
just think breath is really important in sore teeth.
Sore teeth. And then I use the little picker flossers all the time because I'm just constant. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Love it.
Take care of your mouth.
Take care of your mouth. And speaking of mouths and being taken care of, I'm going to nominate Rebecca because while I was at the dentist, I kept thinking about how much Rebecca loves the dentist and how she should have been on the dental team. At one point, I could see her being a social worker at the dentist to help people like me who gag and have anxiety. And so you're going to go first. Rebecca's going to share her laughs and her cries because she's nominated. I hope I can see you smile. Let me see your teeth.
Yes. I don't know why I always have really great dental stories. It's so weird. And I love dental stories. It's so fun. Goodness, laughs and cries. I haven't had many laughs and cries, but I did want to share I think I said last episode, I was really looking forward to goat yoga. Big disappointment. They postponed it for some time in February, which if you live in Texas in February, that's when we get really cold and ice and potentially, snow, not anything in Colorado or the north. But I'm thinking, I don't know that and this is an outdoor event. I don't know if in February I want to be outside doing goat yoga, or do the goats even want to be out at that point? We'll see, to be continued. But I had this really interesting moment that I wanted to share with everybody, and it kind of ties back into when we had talked about signs in a previous episode. I think we've talked about it a few different times, but I went to a new store. You guys probably know it, the Sierra store. It's the outdoor store connected to home goods.
Oh yeah, I love Sierra. Yeah. Great dog toys.
Yes, tons. Yeah, all kinds of. I was because they just opened one here, and I'm like, this is amazing because I love outdoor stuff. Yeah. We were checking out, and this woman, the cashier wasn't talking to us. She was talking to a coworker, and they're obviously talking about something important to them. And she kind of leaned in and she said, don't ever let anyone steal your joy. It was almost like a megaphone moment. When somebody's not even talking to you, but it's they are talking to you because that message needed to get to you. I felt like she had a megaphone. It was everything around me just kind of faded away. It was the message coming straight into me. And I'm whoa, that is so true and such a good reminder. So I just, it was just, again, pay attention. If you're just mindful, these things come out of nowhere. They're present. It's just for us to see and witness. And then we noticed. So yeah, it was really amazing. It was a nice little moment.
I love those moments where you truly feel like you were like supposed to be there and you're supposed to hear that.
For sure.
And that reminds me, I was going to say, Rebecca, of like the Gabby Bernstein where she says the universe is always listening.
Yes.
And will give you what you need if you listen back. So the universe is listening. It will give you what you need, but you have to be open to listening. That's the difference. When we're thinking of like signs and symbols, are you paying attention? That's a pretty powerful message to hear, like to overhear in a conversation.
Don't ever let anybody steal your joy, listeners. It's really important to know that. I'm going to pass this over to the wonderful Taylor Swift lover, Joy Parrish.
Wow,
in her
first and
beautiful
last
red
name.
sweater.
How do you know that I listened to Taylor? No, I'm just kidding. I did receive a songogram, a text songogram from Rebecca. And I got illicit affairs right, which I was very proud of because it's like, I will admit the first half I was like, I have no idea. And then when you got to like the chorus, I was like, this is illicit affairs. Okay.
And Joy, explain what that is.
Well,
to listeners
you know, Rebecca will on occasion send me voice memos. She'll text me a voice memo of a song and she's just humming a Taylor Swift song. And so I have to guess what the song is. And, it's not often, but every once in a while, Rebecca will just send me this little like humming tune. And I have to decipher what song it is. And it's really funny because
I mean, it's actually, Joy is really good at this because I am not really great at this humming.
Well, there's some songs that are kind of obvious that like you can't mess up, but like Illicit Affairs was hard. I was like, what? I don't know. Anyway, that was really fun. My laugh cry this week is more of just yesterday I started this new class through Brown University called MBCT. So it's mindfulness-based cognitive therapy. And I, as maybe you know or don't know, last year I completed, Rebecca and Chelsea have done this course, but I completed a coaching certification course last fall, and that was awesome. So we're all coaches now, which is super cool. We're licensed therapists and coaches. But I completed that course and I was so proud of myself because the reason I signed up in the first place was I was like, I want to prove that I can like sit and complete a course because I haven't done something that intense since grad school, which was a long time ago. We have to do continuing education, of course, for our licensure to continue our licensure and keep that current and stay active with the states that we're licensed in. But I've never done like a 5-6 month long course. That's really not typical for continuing education. They're usually like a day here or an hour here. So I did that purposefully to be like, I can do this. I can sit and I can commit to something. And I did not miss one class, you guys. And I participated. I'm usually one that kind of like, I kind of dip in and out of participation, but I was like the mouthy, chatty one in class. And so I was very proud of myself. So towards the end of that class, I was like, I want to kind of keep this momentum going. And one of my great friends from graduate school is doing this course, but she's doing like a teacher training. It's a little more intense. It's not just like a certification type of thing. So in any event, she was like, you got to do this course. You would really like it. And at the time I was really kind of like, especially through this podcast, I got to say like selfishly, I always say selfishly, but Chelsea always reminds me, it's like, it's okay if this helps you. Like I get so much out of having these conversations that I want to do more of like this, like grounding work because that really is so important for me. And I think just kind of practicing what I preach. So I signed up for this course, also knowing that January and February are historically really hard for me mentally. It's just like the tail end of winter. Things are really cold in Colorado. Things are just kind of like, trailing after the holidays. The holidays are so fun and festive. And so I started this yesterday, and let me tell you, it was only the orientation, and I had like 2 hours of just like warm fuzzies in this class. First of all, the instructor is amazing, just so sweet and kind. And like, you can tell she lives and breathes this. We had people from all over the world in this class, in this Zoom class. There were about 30 people. And here I am thinking like, oh my gosh, it's so early. It starts at 7 a.m. because it's 9 a.m. Eastern. And let me tell you, there was someone like in Vietnam, it was like midnight and they're taking this course. You know what I mean? So like, it was just the orientation, but just like hearing the vibe and kind of getting to know everybody was so wonderful and so peaceful. And I'm so looking forward to it. It's only 8 weeks, but still I'm like, what a great way to start the year. And I already feel kind of changed by it. And that's a really fun feeling. So that's kind of more of like, not so much a laugh, but just a really good, like the momentum feels right. And then my cry was last night, I was texting with Marianne, which you both know we had on the show for the animal communicator, and a couple other CCI friends. And I was just kind of talking through some things about my senior dog. And I know I've talked about like JT being 14. And if you have a senior pet, it's just, you know, Rebecca has very, very much knows this. And, you know, Chelsea, even having Kipsy's not a spring chicken, but still like having a senior pet is very emotional on a daily basis for me. And so I was texting them, you know, some of my thoughts around like the insurance I have for him. And I have this like weird anxiety about whether or not I should keep his insurance because the premiums are going up and blah, blah, blah. They were like, do you want us to talk to him? Like they're both, these two people I was texting, Marianne and another friend, are both animal communicators. And they're like, do you want us to talk to him? Like basically saying like, we can talk to him and make sure like he's feeling okay. Because my anxiety is more than what he's fine. You know, he's every day he gets up, he eats, he poops, he like plays with his friends here. Like, so just that like very kind gesture, you know, like when you just get like a kind, like very small, very like low lift for them. Like they were just like, we're offering. I was just like sitting on the couch and I just started bawling because I was just like, that is so kind to like recognize that I am holding this like, you know, I don't even know if it's like a pre-grieving or just like something that you're holding about this animal that you know isn't going to be around much longer. And I have all these emotions around it. And they were just very, very kind in that moment. So that made me cry. And also just really grateful for, I've been thinking a lot about this. It's just like being grateful for people who are in your life that show up for you in those ways, that see you. And I was thinking about how we can all be better at speaking for myself, but I think all of us can just be better about like intentionally being each other's cheerleaders. And so that was just very sweet and kind.
That goes to Joy into our topic that we're going to talk about today is emotions and how do we go through our emotions and feel our feelings. And when we have anticipatory grief, it does make the intensity more. I always say that with cancer, the laughs were harder, the cries were harder.
Yeah.
The feeling you're feeling, some people will have anticipatory grief and they will shut down. But the goal is to ride that wave over and over and over again so that you don't live and breathe it.
Right.
And this is where when we have humans in our life who hold space, people in our life who can sit with us and process and talk through. I always say a good friend will talk about the same thing 100 times and be like, tell me more. Like, tell me more, right?
Yeah.
And when we have those, especially in our big moments of tender vulnerability, it is a cry because feeling grateful to have, not everybody has that support. Not everybody has that, the person who can be like, let me help you with this. Let me see what I can do. Let me take care of this on my end.
Yeah.
It's burden relieving,
which
is also tearful.
Yeah. And even just in the moment of reaching out to them, I felt like, I know this sounds silly, but it's true. Like I felt like I was bothering them because I was like, this decision around whether or not I keep his pet insurance feels really simple and stupid. Like just make the decision, Joy. And the reason around it again is like, he's old. I'm not going to be doing any life-saving procedures for him. It's very expensive. Like the older they get, it is so expensive to have pet insurance. And so I was like trying to do the costs. And in my brain, I'm like, why am I bothering them with this? And they didn't even flinch. They're like these are the things that friends show up for, is like, if you need to process something as simple as like a finance question and like, they're just like, here's the pros and cons. They're not raising an eyebrow. They're not, it's just like, that was something that more than anything, I just needed to talk it through because of the anxiety I was feeling around it, because there's so much emotion. It's not just insurance for this dog. It's like, this dog has been my life. And so, yeah, it's those small moments, like those small, meaningful moments, those Brene Brown marble in the jar moments of like, oh, I can trust this person. Like each moment of something like that is like, that's building trust right there.
Okay, my laugh and my cry. So I was in New York going to the Knicks game with my kids. So if you're a listener, you know that in October, randomly on this 48-hour trip to Chicago, I met the shooting coach for the New York Knicks, which is my late husband and my son's most favorite basketball team. And I know nothing about sports. So my laugh was the coach. So we went to 2 games. We went to the Saturday night game and the Friday night game and the Saturday night game.
How fun, 2 games. That's amazing.
I know. It was amazing. So the second night he was like, go to will call and pick up passes and then I'll send you your tickets. The game ends and we have these passes and I have no idea what they do. I'm like, I don't know where I'm supposed to meet him. Yeah, I don't know where it gets me. I don't know where I'm supposed to meet him because we're going to meet afterwards and go to dinner, take the kids to dinner. Yeah. So I'm like, I don't know what to do. And so I'm like looking around and I'm like watching people are leaving the venue or Madison Square Garden. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm just going to assume he'll text me or call. Like he's a fucking coach, right? Like he's probably busy. Like they probably have a talk in the locker room. I'm assuming like This is what they do after. I don't know. So I just told the kids, I'm like, okay, so let's just like, what are we going to, I'm like, let's look and see if there's any place obvious that these things go. And there's not. But then I'm like, oh, let's go down on the court. So we go to the court. There's all this security, like blocking people from going. And the kids and I just walk. We just walk down. And I get to the court and I'm like, oh, let's take pictures on the court. And then I get a message from the coach and he's like, did you leave? And I'm like, of course not. I'm on the court. And he's like, the court? And he walks up and he's dying laughing. And he's like, how did you get on the court? And I'm like, I walked down the stairs.
You probably look like a wag. You probably totally look like a wife and girlfriend of a player. And so they're just like, we're just assuming that she's...
Yeah, he's like, well, I'm like, well, what are these passes for? And he's like, I'll show you. And I'm like, oh, well, I didn't know. And he's like, this is like a big deal. Do you know that? And I'm like, I mean, I don't know. I don't know anything about sports. So he's dying laughing. I'm like laughing. I take a picture like with the kids. And then as we walk out, there's like this lounge party area. And he's like, this is what they were for. And I'm like, okay.
Like you're supposed to know that. But here, I want to tell you, this reminds me, you need to tell him of the time that you got better tickets at Billie Eilish. By just, you're like, have we met? Like I literally can finagle my way into anything.
Yes. Oh my God, or like the Grateful Dead show where I tried to break in because I was GA.
Yes.
General admission. And I was like, I don't belong in
and you were like going up to the security guard and you're like, can't you just give me this pass so I can like go?
That's true. So that was my laugh because it was just so funny. And because of, my late husband's industry, I'm real comfortable walking around wherever. Yeah. Like I'm okay with it. But it was just funny because he was dying laughing too. And the kids were like, really are we allowed to do this? And I'm like, yeah, of course. Like, what are you talking about?
It's like on Wayne's World where they have the backstage passage and they walk around with like showing people.
So that was my laugh. And then my cry was, in therapy, we call this a corrective emotional experience. So corrective emotional experience is where you have you're in a similar situation with similar individuals with similar feelings. And instead of it being tragic and horrible, it's beautiful and healing. So we do this like people who have been in like a bad relationship and they get into a new relationship and they fall in love with somebody who treats them well. It corrects and it heals. So my corrective emotional experience was my mother-in-law, because my late husband's from New York. My mother-in-law came to meet us for lunch in the city. And we were in the same city, similar area to where my late husband had a lot of treatment at MSK. My mother-in-law spent a lot of time walking around Manhattan, killing time during these 14-hour surgeries, during the beginning of COVID kind of protocol where they still had COVID protocols. You could only have one person in the hospital at a time. So we would kill a lot of time together. And this was the first time in 3.5 years that her and I, so 3.5 years since he had been diagnosed, that we were walking the streets together and having lunch, and it wasn't traumatic. We weren't killing time. We were enjoying. In fact, we enjoyed our time together so much we didn't even take a picture. We just were talking and visiting, and she goes, "Can you believe this? We're walking and we're not like holding our breath with anticipation." And I just teared up because I thought, oh my God, we have been through, my mother-in-law have been through a lot together.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like we had done this so many times. We would find a place to eat and we would just order the same thing because we were so in cancer world that it's like your brain doesn't even work to think about what to order. You just pick it. And so like going to a restaurant and we're like looking at a menu and I'm like, oh my God, this is the first time we didn't eat the same thing.
Yeah.
Because we just were taking the path of least resistance and we're enjoying our time, not killing time. And we're not just like holding on for the phone to ring. And so it made me tear up thinking about how much has changed. And it's been over 7 months now since my late husband died, which is insane. And healing is happening, which is really beautiful. And I feel different. And I can look at videos now and not cry. And I can be in New York and it feels wonderful and it doesn't feel tragic. It is still tragic, but it's not hijacking. I'm able to be.
Right.
Which is huge.
Yeah.
Which is huge.
That's
so that
beautiful.
was laugh and cry. Laugh and cry, New York.
That is a wonderful place to transition of feeling our feelings, because you just described a big one of like being able to sit with that moment and realize like, wow, this has been a lot. And I think I know you've done an amazing job. Not that there's a ruler of performance, but just like being aware and being in the feelings, from talking to a stranger and bursting into tears, being like, I'm just going to feel my feelings. Like my husband died and like you asked, and, just like we can laugh, cry about that. And to a moment now where you're recognizing walking the streets of New York, being like, I'm not being hijacked by this emotion anymore. And that is a true testament of the work that you've done to sit with your emotions. So today we are going to talk more about what the heck that means, maybe why we're even disconnected in the first place. So Chelsea, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, so this really aligns for our 2026 year of resetting.
Mm-hmm.
And when we think of resetting, we think of doing these big things. I do, at least. I'm like, oh, a reset. I need to go to this immersive retreat. I need to do silent meditation for that. Like I think of these big things, but if we're truly going to reset, we have to allow our nervous system to process, integrate, and heal. And we can look at where emotions are stored. They are in the body. So every time we're not feeling a feeling through, you have a big feeling, you shove it down, you suck it up, you shove it down deep, you distract, you're inauthentic, you lie about it, you're not honest about where you're at, you're not leaning into vulnerability. Your body is keeping score. There is an entire book with trauma called The Body Keeps Score. So your body is keeping score. Every time we do that, we're hitting down, like we're taking our nervous system and we are just piling. And I describe this to clients. Eventually one day it becomes like a Coke bottle that's all shook up and you barely twist the lid and your emotions are flying out everywhere. So if you've ever been driving and somebody has road rage, that's a person who doesn't feel their feelings. And then they get in the car and then they lose their shit. If you've ever, if you listen to earlier episodes when I had the Barbie meltdown.
Oh, yeah. All you should be saying to me is thank you.
Thank you. Where I was inappropriate and cornered my daughter's coach and lost my shit. Storing emotions. I've done this in burnout where I have been so fucking numb that my joy is very low vibe joy, and my irritability is just, I'm getting by on irritability, and it's like adrenaline. So we have all these emotions, and we've been taught, especially if you're Gen X, there's no time to feel. Buckle up your boots, buckle your belt, pull up your boots, like go get out there, throw some dirt on it.
Yep.
Suck it up, work harder, produce more. And then we wonder why we're walking around with this low vibration state. It's because we have to feel all the lows in order to feel the highest highs. Mm-hmm. We do this when we're going to talk about tools and techniques and how we do this. But emotions, feelings are meant to be felt. That's it. They're meant to be felt. We don't have to do anything other than feel them and honor what we're feeling. And that's an average of 90 seconds. When it's longer than 90 seconds, it's because you've become a Coke bottle.
Yeah.
Just shoving.
Yeah. And because I took this class or started this class yesterday, I want to kind of give people an example of even just in this present moment, wherever you're listening, to just be aware of what you're feeling right this moment. And maybe you're like, I'm not really sure. That's okay. But even just starting to ask yourself that question, like in this moment, what's coming up for you? How are you feeling? How's your body feeling? These are the...
Let's do it, Joy. Should we do it? Like, what are we feeling?
Yeah. Like right now I'm feeling really content. I'm just kind of here. I'm not like super high. I'm not super low. I'm always in a good mood when I'm talking to the two of you. I'm also a little distracted because I'm trying to like keep in track of like what we're talking about today. So there's a couple things, but I'm right in the middle.
And we know these things too because of our body. So like I'm excited and I know this because I'm bouncing my leg underneath my desk. My foot is literally yapping away. I also know I'm excited because my heart is racing a little bit, and I know that I'm happy because I can't stop smiling. So we can go into if you don't know how to label your emotions, we can label our body sensations. And that's the evidence of where we're at. Rebecca, what are you feeling?
I would say I'm feeling really anxious today because my internet signal is like going in and out. And so it's really hard, like I miss things that are said. So it's like, it's kind of anxiety provoking for our generation, like Gen X, millennials. I think we were taught, like you were talking about, Chelsea, like just to pick it up and move on, that we were taught to be disconnected from our bodies. At some point, we learned not to trust the signals that we were getting. So I think a lot of us, I think all three of us have done a lot of work probably in our adult lives of trying to connect and understand that signal. But I think a lot of people are kind of struggling with, can I trust what my body is maybe even signaling to me? And because we learned to not trust it, we were taught not to trust our bodies.
Well, thank you for bringing that up. And I really love this idea of calling it out for Gen X, because I think now we're at a point in our lives where we can handle it. I think for so long we've been carrying this and really trying to push through and white knuckle that Gen X and even elder millennials are at this point where we're like, okay, yeah, I'm kind of done with the story. And now we have the power and we have the voice to be able to deal with these things. And so feel like why we're disconnected in the first place is looking back to the narrative of maybe what you were told. So yes, bury your emotions, don't cry, whatever it is, to where now we're kind of going, oh yeah, that story doesn't work for me anymore. That narrative doesn't work. And we talked about this a lot over the weeks of like looking at a narrative that you've been told your whole life and just really being curious about like, that doesn't work for me anymore. Step one would be like, asking yourself where we learned to abandon ourselves, where we learned to leave our body or disconnect from our emotions. And I know that if we were to dig into each individual, everyone would have a completely different answer to that question. But that's what's really important, is it is so individual of being like, oh yeah, like when I was younger, it was always like, don't cry, you're fine, move on. So those early messages really, 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 really are holding us hostage in a way of like making sure that we're honoring that and being like, oh yeah, that's okay. Like that happened, but I can do it differently now. I think about the road rage people. Like that is such a good example of people who've just been bottling it up. No person wants to be that angry. Who wants to be that angry and miserable that you're like just taking your anger out on strangers?
Well, I think that the reason why people are reaching that level of anger is because nobody's paying attention to it prior to, maybe it was weeks ago, you were mad that the trash people didn't come pick up your trash when they said they were, like little tiny things and they spilled, like Chelsea's talking about, like when you have the emotion, allow yourself to feel it, because you are the Coke bottle then when you're screaming at everybody on the highway for cutting you off.
Well, and I think to your point, Joy, when you go back to the root, then you can have compassion for yourself rather than irritability or rather than more annoyance. When you say, where did I learn this? Why am I road raging? Why are my reactions out of proportion to the precipitating event? I am overreacting to everything. What's that rooted in? When we're able to understand the root, and I love this part about therapy specifically, is I call it going to the wound. You go to the wound and you can see, I can see myself as a kid crying. My dad would just look at me. Like, just kind of look at you while you're crying. There wasn't any,
like
there was
soothing,
no reactivity.
Yeah.
Especially like there wasn't a lot of affection. There wasn't a lot of those things. Whereas, with my kids, it's like, yeah, you got to cry it out. You're going to cry it out. You're playing sports. Your dad was going through cancer. You're going to feel it's going to come up. You're vulnerable to looking a little wild right now emotionally. It's all over. But when we ride that wave and we know that it's rooted, it sort of takes the craziness out. And that's what I hear both you, Joy, and Rebecca saying, is that way that especially Gen X grew up, there's a little bit of craziness with the idea of feeling your feelings, because there's like, I don't understand why I feel this way.
Right.
I don't understand
We
why I'm burnt
weren't
out.
given the roadmap.
My life is great. I'm accomplishing this. I'm doing all this. And there's a lot of gaslighting ourselves, this smoke and mirrors that we shouldn't feel this way, when again, feelings are meant to be felt. That's it. We just have to feel them.
Yeah.
We're all allowed to
I think
feel.
we're also, a lot of people are on autopilot.
Yeah, from shoving. Yeah.
Right.
Shoving
So-
makes autopilot.
The undoing begins when we start interrupting our autopilot and paying attention.
I love that. The undoing begins when we start interrupting the autopilot. So that means noticing. We have to notice. And I say start with noticing if you're not good at emotions, start noticing what your body's feeling. I had this the other day with someone I was working with, and they were describing like, oh, my whole body's numb right now. And I'm like, okay, that means I'm giving you too much information. That means we're going too fast, and your body's like, I'm not taking all of this in.
Yeah,
I'm
you
shutting
start to
down.
kind of shut down. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But they didn't look shut down. Did not look shut down. But I, as a therapist, ask throughout session, how are you feeling? And when they say fine or whatever, I'm like, what's happening in your body right now? That's how I gauge how we're doing it. So you can do the same thing for yourself, by the way.
I really want to call back really quick and point this out, and I think we can dive into this a little bit more in the next episode. But we as therapists will talk about things, and I have to remind myself that like not everyone really understands, not from a sense of like, you don't get it. It's just more of this is so normalized for us of like we understand the concepts. But I want to really emphasize to listeners that recognizing your patterns of behavior and connecting the dots of how you are today and how that has impacted you is really important, but it's also very hard work. I often will sit with clients and we'll talk about things and I'll be like, well, I'm kind of connecting the dots of why this is happening for you right now, because A, B, and C happened when you were a kiddo. And they're like, oh my gosh, I never even thought of that. And it's not to say that you have to like go back and rehash everything from your childhood, but just really honoring that you didn't have a choice when you were a kid. Like you didn't always have a choice of like how things were handled. And like you were just kind of guided by these adults that they meant so well and they probably loved you and like really were trying the best that they could. There were some patterns of behavior that you learned that take us into adulthood. It's really hard to escape that unless we start to develop this awareness. And so I don't want anyone to have any judgment around this either. Oh my gosh, I'm so screwed. It's like, no. This awareness is really like what you were saying, Rebecca, of recognizing when you're on autopilot and just being like, oh, this is the path I was on. This is what I grew up with. This, I always use that word template. I don't know why, but it feels like a template. Like you grew up with like this template, and then that is just kind of what you operated on because that was the template you had. That's all you knew. But now you have the ability to create your own beautiful template with like really beautiful colors and like things you want to do and feeling your feelings. And that is what we're trying to really hone in on today.
Joy, I really love that visual of a template because it's like this was the design for how you were supposed to act and behave and have emotions. But, that doesn't work anymore, and we're on to a new operating system at this point in our lives.
Yep.
Right? Kind of what you all are saying too is we've talked about people noticing these feelings, like, just start noticing them. But I want to say to people to stop second guessing yourself, which is a judgment, right? If you feel something, then you feel it. Don't like say, well, do I feel anxious? Am I feeling angry? No, if you are like, I'm feeling this sensation, then let's name it and go with it, because that is what your body is experiencing at that moment. So trust the immediate signal that you're getting.
Mm-hmm. And it's really good to have a safe person to talk about this with as well. Like if you have a close friend or someone that you can just start practicing labeling your emotions if that's something that's not comfortable for you. For example, I know we've talked about, like, we have a little group chat with like 5 of us here, including Rebecca and Chelsea. And like, we're always chit-chatting on this Marco Polo, group Marco Polo. And recently I went on there and I was like, I just feel really weird today. Like today feels really off. I don't know why, but I'm just going to sit with it. Where normally I'd be like, and it's okay to like try to get yourself like out of it. I'm not saying like you have to white knuckle it. I'm just saying I labeling it helps. Labeling it is like, if I stay here all day today and I kind of feel funky and weird and I don't know why, maybe it's the full moon, who knows, but just, I'm going to just like honor that. And I'm going to still like go throughout my day and, you know, be gentle and kind of like go outside, get some fresh air, but I'm not going to sit and try to get out of it. I'm just going to like let it be what it needs to be, with the trust that it will process and it will, like, tomorrow's a new day type of thing.
It's what I'm hearing is validation. So Rebecca, you're talking about labeling it and just calling it what it is. If you don't know what your emotions are and you don't know how to label it, label what your body feels and get really curious, especially with anger, because anger is secondary. Typically there's sadness, helplessness, shame. There's something bigger underneath it. But you're allowed to just say, I'm feeling this way, therefore I'm feeling this. Joy, you're talking about, then we validate ourselves. We can just give ourselves a gentle validation, like, it's okay that I feel this way. We can't expect ourselves, when people are like, I want to be happy all the time. I'm like, it's just not realistic.
Right. It's just not.
Feel probably, I don't know, like 20, 60,000 different feelings, like emotions all throughout. I mean, you can watch a commercial on TV and feel something. You can hear a song and feel something else. You can see an animal and feel something else. You can call a friend and see someone. You can get a piece of mail and you don't like that where that mail came from. It's a bill, and feel something else. You can have somebody who's rude to you and then you feel something else. So you have to think all day long. We're feeling all different ways. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. If you notice something is sticky, or you notice all of a sudden I'm angry, or I'm really irritable, or I'm shutting down, or I'm feeling sad, or I'm feeling really anxious, that's when we want to get really curious about what we've been, what's sticking, what's staying inside the body. Something is sticking, and that's what we need to honor. For most of our day, we're just flowing through. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You're shifting constantly. Yeah. So pay attention to where you notice it's getting stuck, or you notice I'm feeling something and I'm white knuckling my way through it. I'm working more. I'm shutting down more. I'm sleeping more. Let's see where we're avoiding.
So what would you say, Chelsea? Like, because I think about, or Rebecca, like I think about irritability. For me, so like that's my sign when I'm like short with my spouse, or I'm just feeling kind of like short and easily annoyed. That is usually my sign that I'm like, because I don't want to confuse people to be like, get rid of your irritability, but just more of like, oh, where's this coming from? Am I being totally honest of like what I need right now? And maybe I'm just PMSing and like I need to be there. Because I don't want to get confused with like, when you say sticky, to me, it kind of feels like irritability is wrong.
No feelings are wrong, ever. I mean, I would say if there's a bullshit feeling, there's two. Shame, there's something wrong with me, which that you learned there was something wrong with you. That's not a true. Mm-hmm. And I would say anxiety is the other bullshit emotion, because it doesn't serve, you're not honoring anything that's happened. It's future oriented. It's about control. Anxiety is, I'm not feeling safe. That is what's true underneath it. So I think when we look at something like irritability, I would say you've self-abandoned too much. So throughout the day, you were forced to shut your mouth during a meeting where you had a strong opinion. You were forced to listen, like there was all these hijacks happening. And by the end of the day, your nervous system is shot. There is nothing left. And I would say, of course you feel irritable. Of course you feel irritable because you had to keep functioning. Irritability to me is always like, I always imagine it like you are functioning. You keep functioning. You keep white knuckling it through. until you hit the slippery slope of irritability and you're either going into depression or rage. Like,
I think for me, irritability is like, I think about our body is a freaking chemistry experience. It's a chemistry lab every single moment of the day. Our body is always trying to balance. And so if you're feeling anything, it's because there's some sort of balance issue. And it's like microscopic chemicals. It could be maybe, your dopamine levels drop because, like Chelsea was saying, something happened that just was, just rubbed you the wrong way, or it went against your values. I think it really becomes value-based stuff then. But as far as simple practices, I think the biggest thing is taking moments to check in with your body. You can anchor these with activities you're already doing, like if you're brushing your teeth or washing your face, or you're taking a shower, walking your dog. Just take a moment and say, how's my body feeling? Do like a quick scan from head to toe. And then you can also orient yourself to safety. Like start thinking about what's going to help me feel safe right now in this moment. And that can be whatever it is to you. Yeah, that's what I think. Those are the two biggest things.
I love the simplicity of that.
Yeah,
because
it's super simple.
The idea for all of these practices that we talk about is that it's so small, incremental, building on one another. Because, and I say this all the time in therapy too, it took you this long to build up a habit and build up a personality trait and build up a way of doing things. It takes honor that it takes time. You're not going to just flip a switch overnight and all of a sudden be like, okay, I'm not doing that anymore. Done. Because it's so hardwired. You took a lifetime, however old you are, 20, 30, 40 years to be who you are. To change something really that's second nature for you is going to take some time. So honoring that, and it will happen, and just being aware.
Yeah, completely. I want to also tell people the body doesn't need to be corrected. You don't need to correct yourself. Your body just wants to be heard.
And I'll add to that, we stay out of thoughts and stay in our body. The biggest superpower you have is to stop holding your breath. When we hold our breath, we're sucking it up and we're storing it in the body, and we're more vulnerable to become that Coke bottle. So and why do we suck up? We suck up because it keeps you from crying. It holds your emotions. It constricts. If you want to feel your feelings, which is the basis of undoing. So we undo so we can make space for new ways of being, then we need to let go of our breath. So I notice this all the time in therapy. I see your breathing from your chest in your throat. I watch people. I'm like, your breath is supposed to go all the way down, through all your chakras. Mm-hmm. We should be breathing at the root, that's by your pelvis, all the way up. That's how we breathe. So if you're feeling something and you can even stop and breathe, do it for 30 seconds. You're going to self-connect and honor your emotions. It's a shortcut to honoring your emotions is just to fucking breathe, which I think is amazing. We can also pair being intention. So I did this the other day. I did a kickboxing class and I'm like, ooh, I have not experienced the anger with my grief. I've not gone into anger really ever. And I was like, I am just punching the shit out of this, the unfairness, the horrible, difficult journey, the witness to suffering that my husband went through. And so you're pairing that with it. And when I was done, I was like, wow, I really needed that. When I need to reset my nervous system, as soon as I got home from New York, I got in a hot bath. I need to reconnect with my body. My body feels all these things from traveling. I had all these emotions, excitement and grief and newness and all this different stuff. So I'm getting in the bathtub and I'm like, okay, I'm honoring it. Rebecca, when you were talking about brushing your teeth, washing your hands, washing your face, I always look at that as I'm rinsing off. I'm taking off the ick from the day. I love that when I get off work. Wash my face, wash my hands, take off other people's emotions. That's how I look at it. So, and then touch, physical touch, notice what you're feeling in your body and put your hands there. If you're breathing in your throat, I always say just gently touch your throat. Your shoulders are tight, give yourself a little bit of a massage. You feel restless leg, not in an excited way that I did today, but as a nervous, anxious way. Push your feet into the ground. We want to when you connect with your body, you're automatically connecting with your emotions. So we can not think at all. We don't have to go to the root. We don't have to go through, let me be intentional. You can literally go to your body if that feels better for you to start, and then add it on later. Like, I'm in my body, now label what I'm feeling, now seek to understand maybe where this came from, now explore. Like, we don't have to eat all of the giant loaf of bread. We can start picking little pieces.
Yeah.
Swallow, digest,
Slow
a little
down,
bit more.
slow down.
Consistency. Yeah, simple.
Right. It feels like a car that's going like 100 miles an hour, and we really just need to slow down. And it's okay to slow down. I think we have been taught that going faster and doing all the things and accomplishing and striving is the safe space, and slowing down feels really uncomfortable. And so, for example, like if you've ever tried to meditate, and this is where I'm changing the narrative for myself, because I've always been like, I can't meditate. It's not it's not super comfortable, but I really want to just like try a different thing. I want to stop that narrative. So what obviously taking this mindfulness class, I'm like, we did a little bit of just a check-in meditation yesterday. The instructor called out that like your mind is going to drift. If you can just at least recognize that any type of meditation, your mind is going to drift. That's what our brains do. Like, you can't escape that your mind has a bazillion thoughts a day. So just understanding that your brain's doing its job, and that what we just need to do is be like, all right, we're just trying to like wrangle it a little bit. We're just trying to wrangle it a little bit. Like, don't let it just have this like free fall, having a rave inside your brain every day, and like, throwing a party with no supervision. Like, get some supervision in there. That's all we're saying.
Or I say, fuck the brain, go to the body. Like,
I love it.
Yeah. Fuck the brain, go to the brain is a heartbeat, y'all. It is a heartbeat. 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day is just pumping thoughts
going
all day.
It is
and
working
we're like,
hard.
Yeah, this is this wild animal. Let me tame it.
Yeah.
Like, okay, yeah, well, we can give it some boundaries. We can help restructure it. But for the purpose of today, fuck the brain, stay in the body. Let's just practice staying in the body. Practice holding space for what you're feeling, so you don't have these big behavioral reactivities. You're not walking around with armor.
Yeah, right.
Because God forbid somebody accidentally pokes you and you've become a bear.
Yeah.
You're going to lose your mind. And if you become a bear, then if you want to go to the brain and have compassion and be think about where it comes from, fine. But we got to feel our feelings, guys. Mm-hmm. There's no way around this.
That is like the one
feelings.
Non-negotiable in life. Like, you just we can't get around that. So hopefully this discussion today gave you some tools to start that journey. If this is something new for you, if you're more advanced, you know what you need to do to kind of dig in a little bit deeper. Maybe notice where your sticky spots are, like Chelsea was saying. I will say, Chelsea, I love what you said recently in a episode where you were like celebrating the things that we do every day. Like, you fed your cat, or you took out the trash. I think about that all the time. Like, that's really stuck with me as far as I historically, not anymore. I'm changing the narrative. I'm like, the not enoughness. Like, you didn't do shit today, you lazy piece of shit. Like, I'm like, I took my dogs on a walk today. And I cleaned the bathroom. That's great. I, went outside and looked at a tree. Just really being intentional about giving myself praise. So hopefully we are helping people who are listening to this show. If you have a topic that you'd like to have us talk about, you can email us, laughcryclub@gmail.com. And we are also on all the social media platforms at Laugh Cry Club. Happy New Year again to everybody. And if you like this show, the best compliment you can give to us and support is to share with a friend. And if you have not yet left a rating and review, that would be really, really appreciated. A great gift for us that you can take 2 seconds and do. So until next week we're going to talk a little bit about generational trauma, because we talked so much about behavior or going into your emotions and honoring your emotions. Now we really want to dig into the history of how we became who we are. That sometimes is really helpful to know that so much goes into us as beings that is carried over from our ancestors and the people that raised us. So that will be next week. But until next time, we wish you a wonderful day. We love you so much. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
That's life, baby.